recording has begun. So before we jump in, I would like a show of hands. So press the little raise button if this is your very first time seeing Benefits 24/7. Got a number of hands here. All right. Okay, well, welcome. Excited to give you guys your first glance at this new system. So I'm going to start here with the login page, and we won't spend too much time, but I do think it's important to talk about here a little bit. As you can see, there are two login buttons. This top button is specific for employees or subscribers or external admins. The bottom login button specifies for internal admins or HCA users. So we as HCA staff, when we are helping people with their benefits, when we're helping those retirees or those continuation coverage members, we are an HCA user and we will be logging in through this bottom login button. However, we also are subscribers or employees ourselves, and we have PEB benefits available to us. So when you need to log in to manage your own benefits during open enrollment, maybe you need to add a child or change your medical or dental coverage, you would use the top login button as an employee or subscriber. And then you would go through SAW, Secure Access Washington. You would need to have a username and password, and then you can manage your own benefits. So those are two very separate logins, and I just wanted to call that out. When we are doing our work during the day and helping other members with their benefits, we're going to use this bottom login option. And as I mentioned, I want anybody and everybody to feel super comfortable to ask questions at any point in time. Don't feel like you need to raise your hand or anything, because I won't necessarily be fully monitoring that. So please just pop yourself off mute, jump in and ask questions. I do have some colleagues here with me. Jessica Pratt McConnell is taking notes. So on anything that is asked during this session, she will be capturing those notes. And then I also have Jeff Grubner and Brandy Brown here to help answer questions that come up during the session. So don't feel shy. No, there are no dumb questions. All questions are very warranted. So please feel comfortable to speak up. With that being said, I am going to jump in now. So I'm going to go ahead and select the login button as an HCA user. Okay, and now you can see when we actually log in to Benefits 24/7, our training environment, which is what we're in, is this beautiful purple color scheme. That will not be the final color scheme, but this is a way for us to designate that it's our training environment. So it will be white with the blues and the greens that we're used to with HCA colors. But this is what you see as soon as you log in to Benefits 24/7. Now, if any of you I know there are a few of you that have been at least exposed to SebMy account, but if you have not, this should look and feel very similar to the way SebMy account is laid out. We have here at the top of the page, where this is purple, in our real Benefits 24/7, once it goes live in May, this will be a blue color. But we consider this a navigation bar. So all of these items, a dashboard, subscribers, access, etc., all of these options in the navigation bar at the top of the screen are mirrored here on our dashboard. And we call these tiles or widgets. I know Jeff likes to use widgets a lot, which is a fun word. So all of these take us to different sections within Benefits 24/7. So I'm going to walk through what each of these are and explain a little bit about them. And then we'll really dive into looking at submitting retiree request and then processing. Same with a COBRA request. And so that's really going to be our focus for today. Any questions so far? Also, feel free to use the chat too. Like I said, we have Jessica, Jeff, and Brandy there monitoring that chat as well. So feel free to submit questions that way. All right. I am going to talk a little bit about each of these tiles and then we'll take a look at a few of them. So this first one here is manage subscribers. And this is really an opportunity to look up any individual who is in PEB or SEB. And that means not only our continuation coverage or retiree members, but that also means all of our active PEB and SEB members. And I know that's important because we get phone calls from individuals who are not yet retired or not yet on continuation coverage. We may need to look them up and see that they're enrolled and where they're enrolled with. So we'll walk through searching somebody on the managed subscribers here in just a moment. We also have manage access. And this is more so something that our outreach and training staff will be accustomed to using. This is a way to provide access to benefits administrators, our HR and benefits folks who administer benefits at the various PEB and SEB organizations. It's a way for us to get them that benefit admin access through this page here. We also have manage organizations. This is a way for us to look at the whole gigantic list of every PEB and SEB organization that is active in providing benefits to folks. So as you can see here, as I've clicked onto this page and I come into the manage organizations page, we have an ability to search by an organization name. If we know an HCA agency number or an organization type. And as we look down the list here, right away you can see we have Aberdeen School District, which is a SEB organization. And right beneath it, we have Adams County, which is a political subdivision, Administrative Office of the Courts, which is Central Pay. So you can see here that this is all of the PEB and SEB organizations. Now, if we wanted to search specifically for only within, we have the ability to search only within a PEB or SEB organizations, which is sometimes helpful if we know, like I know, for example, there is many different organizations in PEB and SEB that have the name Evergreen. So if I were to type Evergreen and hit the search button, we actually see three options here. We have Evergreen School District, Evergreen State College, and Evergreen School District. Now, if I was to select the Show Only SEB button here, and then I hit search again, that PEB organization goes away. Instead, if I hit the Show Only PEB and hit search again, now I'm only going to see the PEB version that has Evergreen in the organization name. So just a way to make that search feature a little bit easier when we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of organizations. It gives us an opportunity to find things a bit faster. So I am going to head back to the dashboard here. We have a dependent verification. This queue is more so designated for, again, outreach and training who are needing to verify extended and disabled dependents as part of the SEB and PEB program. So dependents who need to actually be certified through HCA rather than through their organizations. We have a special enrollment event verification. This is, again, special enrollment events for that need to be verified by HCA staff. This again is dedicated more towards the outreach and training. And I am saying that a couple of these that are more towards active employee things, and there's a reason for that. You can probably see right down below here, we have a tile that says self-pay dashboard. And we do have a specified self-pay section of benefits 24/7 where you guys will mainly go to do your workload in benefits 24/7. So I'm going to hop into that in just a moment, but I wanted to call out, as I'm saying, this one's for active employees and this one's for active employees. It is because we recognized that it would be much easier to have things separated out, as you guys have very specific defined work items to do, and as does outreach and training. So we decided to keep those separate. So we'll get into the self-pay dashboard here in a moment. There is a reports section, a lot of reports that are available for HCA staff to be able to run. Things such as dependents without social security numbers, or we have reports for dual enrollment with PEB and SEB employee coverage. Again, many of these are mainly for um, outreach or for active employee coverage. And there are some that are defined, such as this. You guys can't see my drop down. Another thing I should acknowledge. For whatever reason that I have not been able to figure out, when I present through Teams and I am working in benefits 24/7, I will click on a drop down and I can see everything in the drop down. But those of you who are viewing my screen apparently cannot view what's in my drop down. So I've not yet been able to figure out why this happens. And I certainly apologize. As we walk through this process today, I will make sure that I call out what I'm seeing in the drop down so you guys aren't totally blind to what I'm doing. But this list of reports is rather lengthy, and there's many different things in here: spousal reattestations, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this today. And I'm going to head back to the dashboard here. Continuing on with a couple more items, the application settings and the error handling pages and benefits 24/7 are geared much more towards ETS staff like myself, managing various things within benefits 24/7, such as designating what the open enrollment dates are so that open enrollment is available at the correct days and time, various messaging that we may need to place within benefits 24/7 if we have an outage or the system needs to be down, something of that nature. The error handling piece is a way for us ETS staff to view records, because one of the big changes with benefits 24/7 is that Pay One, which we are all very familiar with and used to using in our daily workload, is not where we're going to be making changes or helping subscribers. So all of that work is now going to be done into benefits 24/7. So when there's subscribers or you get an enrollment form, all of that processing will be done in benefits 24/7. However, Pay One is still our system that does all of the invoicing and lets people know how much their premiums are. They send out those invoices to folks. Many other accounting functions that Pay One does, and those will continue into Pay One, even though all of our enrollment processes will be done in benefits 24/7. So we have this file that is created every night that comes out of benefits 24/7. and it goes over to pay one, so that the next day we can see changes or new folks, new enrollments into pay one or new terminations. We would be able to see that information in pay one the next day. So if there are issues with a record, something wasn't quite right, or a small problem with that information getting into pay one, we would be reviewing those issues on this error handling page. That is, it's not something that we would expect other folks to be looking at, but I just wanted to call out what this meant and really explain that process without going into too much detail and really boring everybody. Um, about how this process is changing and how that information will still get into pay one. So we will still be able to see it into pay one, and a lot of, it'll just be available the next day. So that is the error handling. And then last but not least, on this main dashboard here, we have subscriber enrollment history. And this is a really cool opportunity to look up a subscriber and be able to see any changes that were made on their account. Things like, when they changed a plan during open enrollment, you would be able to see the date and time in which that was done. We can see how many times or when the subscriber has logged into their account even. So we will be reviewing the history a little bit later once we actually get into looking at accounts and making changes to things. Any questions on this main dashboard before we dive into being able to look up a subscriber and going into the self-pay dashboard? We have another quiet group today, right? Okay. So when we get those phone calls from a active employee who has not yet been terminated, or they're not yet enrolled in retiree or continuation coverage, and we need to look up their account just to, make sure that we're helping provide correct answers to them, the various different things that you guys do in looking up somebody in pay one, we would go from our main dashboard. We can go to this manage subscribers. Same that in the navigation bar up here, it's just called subscribers. So either one of these will get you to the same place. So I'm going to go ahead and select subscribers here. And here again, you see those same opportunities to show only PEB or show only SEB members. This is going to be important. It's very much like using an A screen or an S screen, right? It allows us to only be looking up individuals in the PEB or SEB program. Of course, if you don't select either one, the default is to search for anybody and everybody in PEB and SEB combined when we're looking at this manage subscribers page. So for purposes of giving you guys a good visual, I'm just going to put in one letter, but we can search here in the manage subscribers by first name, last four of the social, or the full social security number. One important thing to note is in this search field, we cannot combine first and last, but we can use just the first, just the last, or the social. So I'm just going to type an A. And the reason I did that is because I wanted you guys to see a long list of individuals. So you can see here that we have a long list of subscribers. We can see the employer name, so where they've been hired. I have a couple of these are the ones that I created, but let's look at this one just for fun. So I have outreach training is my subscriber that I'm interested in. If I want to actually go to their account to view something, I would click on this box to the left of the first name, this checkbox, and it's going to highlight that row. And then you see a new purple button, purple in this color scheme. A new button showed up that says Manage Associated Subscriber. And in order to actually get into their record and view information, we want to select Manage Associated Subscriber. So once we select that, now we are viewing information for subscriber outreach training. So here we're actually seeing that subscriber's dashboard. So just like we had that HCA dashboard when we logged into Benefits 24/7, when we go and look at a subscriber and we manage their record, we're actually able to see their dashboard, just like if Outreach was logged in themselves as a subscriber. These are the options that they would see on their dashboard. So we're viewing it from their perspective. In addition, we also have the ability, we have these tabs, tiles, widgets, lots of different things that we refer them to. Um, we have these tabs here, and we can, more or less, it's the same information from their dashboard. However, we have this eligibility tab for a subscriber. This is available to us as HCA staff, and this would be available to benefit admins who manage benefits for those PEB and SEB organizations. If we go to that eligibility tab, this is really where we're seeing the information for them, that very similar information to what you're seeing on the 41 screen, right? When their date of eligibility is, um, if they were terminated or not. So very similar to what you would see on the 41. Now, if this person was terminated already, you would be able to see termination information here. And we'll look at one momentarily that's already been terminated. But we can also see additional information like Medicare information if they were enrolled. We can see a subscriber's contact information, their address, residential, and mailing. So this is really where we could go to see, to look up their information and see things like if they're still actively enrolled or if they have been terminated, things like that. All right, so I am going to go back to my dashboard here, and I am going to now jump in to our self-pay dashboard. So this is where I would imagine you guys will spend the vast majority of your working time in Benefits 24/7. Here you can see it looks very similar to that main dashboard when we logged into Benefits 24/7, but there's a lot less options on screen. We have managed subscribers. We have a dependent verification queue. We have a special enrollment event verification queue. We have our continuation coverage and retiree requests. This is probably the main place you will spend your time. And then we have a reports section as well. So I would like to start out by walking you guys through what it looks like from the subscriber perspective to actually submit a retiree request. And then we're going to go through and process that request, which is more so what you guys will be doing. So I already have somebody set up who is already submitted their resignation to their PEB organization. So I'm going to go to manage subscribers here. And I am going to search them by social. So here is my individual. I am going to select and manage this subscriber, because I am going to show you guys this process from the perspective of this subscriber. So PCS training is going to be logging into benefits 24/7, and we are now going to submit a retiree request. So from our dashboard, I'm going to select the retiree and continuation coverage tile here. Here it's going to provide us a little bit of information about retiree coverage. It gives us a link to the website, the HCA website, so we can get more information about retiree coverage. And then what it does down below is it allows us to select a request and get started with our request process. So I'm going to expand this drop down and you guys cannot see it again, but the two options listed here, because this individual is already terminated, we have the option for retiree enrollment slash deferral. And the second option is COBRA enrollment slash termination. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to select retiree enrollment. As soon as I select the request type, I get a button that says create request, and this is how I actually start submitting that retiree request. So all of us as HCA, if we were to create a retiree or continuation coverage request on behalf of a subscriber, which there are circumstances that we will need to do that, we as HCA will see this question. Our subscribers themselves will not see this question. And the reason for that is, as much as I would love to say that come May 8th, when Benefits 24/7 goes live, that you guys will never see another paper form again, we probably know that that's not true. People will still continue to submit their paper forms for plan changes, new enrollments, etc. And when that happens, this provides us the opportunity to create a request in Benefits 24/7 on behalf of that subscriber who submitted a paper form. And then you don't have to go through completing the form on their behalf. And we'll talk through that as we go through the processing side. But this question is the only time you would say yes to doing this is if you were actually going to process a paper document that you received in Benefits 24/7. And I can assure you that your training team will have this very well outlined for you. We also do have, that reminds me, let me do this really quick. I am going to drop a link into the chat. We did create a user guide uh, prior to starting our training. And this is, let me go ahead and paste that. This is the user guide that we created from ETS staff. I know that your guys' training team, Alexi's group, will also have many more additional training documents, I am certain of it, available to you guys and working through Benefits 24/7. But that document does also help walk you through this process and explain all these different things that I'm going through. So apologies that I didn't send that out sooner. Okay, so we're going to actually walk through submitting this form. So I'm going to select no. We are going to go ahead and complete the form. So I don't want to opt out here. So now this is going to give us some information about submitting a retiree request. Really what you're going to see over the next several screens is that it is very similar to the paper form that retirees are already used to submitting. However, it is broken up into different pages and it's a little bit more user-friendly than just a paper form. So here we're going to go ahead and select to proceed to payment information. And here we have our options for paying for benefits, just like they're used to selecting information about how to pay, etc. So we have pension deduction, electronic debit, monthly invoice, or the option to defer and retiree coverage. For today, let's go ahead and say pension deduction, just because that's what I feel like selecting this morning or this afternoon. Okay, once we make our payment decision, we can go ahead and select proceed to enrollment. And on the form, because this individual was already in benefits 24/7 as an active employee, their demographic information is automatically populated on the form. So we have their social, date of birth, first and last name. If there was phone numbers in the system, we would see those. We have their address. We have the opportunity to, we as the subscriber, I have to remember to say that, the subscriber has the opportunity to update this address here if they're submitting their new request. If they want to add in a mailing address, they can do so at this time, or they can select the checkbox that says I basically don't have a mailing address. It's the same as my residential. Here we move into our actions. So we have the opportunity to enroll, defer, enroll after deferring, or we're separating from service. So I'm going to keep this nice and clean, and we're just going to go ahead and enroll. My retirement date is going to be April 1st. And I would also like my coverage effective April 1st as well. And then we can select a retirement plan. So again, since you can't see all of my options, we have all of the applicable retirement plans, all of the PERS, TERS, uh, all of there's many different options here. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this person was working for a state agency. So they have PERS 2. Now we have Medicare information. Are you enrolled in Medicare A or B? So of course we need to make a selection for both. So I am going to go ahead and select yes for Part A and for Part B. And I was eligible for this back in 2015, and I am starting my B in 2023. Gonna let me have different dates? Should. Okay. Then it's asking if I'm enrolled in Medicare Part D. I'm going to say no. Am I enrolled in Medicaid with Medicare Part D? No. And then I can put in my Medicare number here. And I'm just going to make one up because I don't know one off the top of my head. Okay, so now it's going to ask me what I want to enroll in. Do I want to enroll in medical and dental, or retiree term life insurance? So for today, I am going to enroll in medical and dental. I'm not interested in the retiree term life. Here we have this section. If we are going to defer, we would select defer and put in our deferral date. And then again, if we're enrolling after deferring, we'd select this option and put in the date that our other coverage is ending. And of course, selecting the checkbox that does apply if we are either deferring or enrolling after deferring. All of this is very, very, very similar to the paper form. Then we have our section for retiree term life. It gives us a link to that enrollment or change form if we did want to apply for that coverage. And then we ask them to acknowledge that they are going to upload that document. For our tobacco use surcharge attestation down here, you can see that this option is automatically selected since I put in that I was enrolled in Medicare Part A and Part B. It automatically tells me that the tobacco surcharge does not apply and it's not going to let me move forward. Or I'm sorry, not going to let me move forward. It's not going to make me select a yes or no option because I'm automatically do not need to pay that surcharge. So once I complete this, it's going to move me to processing or completing dependent form. I knew it was going to do that to me. I know we have a little bit of a little bit of a bug on this to allow for future dates. So that is going to be fixed, and I promise that that won't be an issue going forward. This one I must not have enough digits. There we go. Okay. Okay, proceed to the dependent portion of the form here. So now I already had a dependent on my active employee account. So they display in this current dependent section here. So you can see I have training spouse. So my spouse is already on my account. If I wanted to add additional dependents when I am enrolling in this coverage, I would simply select this add dependent button. It opens up a new dependent demographic record down below, and I could go through the steps to add in a new dependent to my account. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel because I do already have one and I don't need to add anybody else. However, I am going to expand the record for my spouse because I need to say if I'm going to add them into coverage or not. So here again, you can see that we have their information already applied because they were already in active employee coverage. So we can make changes if we need to. Otherwise, we can just move to the next section, which is Medicare. And so I am going to say, making up a date here. This is when this person was enrolled in Medicare Part A and Part B. We do not have Medicare Part D coverage and not enrolled in Medicaid with Medicare Part D. So now we have the section to identify what coverages we want to enroll our dependent in. So I'm going to go ahead and select medical here. Dental was already selected since the subscriber said they were going to enroll in medical and dental. Tobacco surcharge section again has the auto selected option that the premium surcharge does not apply since the subscriber is enrolled in Medicare A and B, so they don't need to make a selection there. And the same goes for the spousal surcharge questions. They do not need to answer those since the subscriber is in Medicare. So from here, we go ahead and select Save Changes. And then we could add another dependent if we wanted, or if we're all done with our dependents, we just go ahead and select Continue. Now we move into the medical plan selection. So here we're going to see all of the available plans, and we can go ahead and select what we would like to enroll in for a subscriber and dependent. I'm going to go ahead and select United PEB Balance. So we're going to put them in an MAPD plan, and I'm going to select Continue. Now we are presented with information for the race and ethnicity and language collection, which is new, effective January of this year. So the subscriber has the opportunity to indicate for themselves and their dependents all of their language and race and ethnicity selections here. So I'm going to go ahead and select no preference for language. We'll go ahead and say I'm going to choose not to answer. For both of these, of course, we can also select many options within these. So select all that apply. Or if we want to choose not to answer, we can go ahead with that. So I'm going to just take the easy route and say choose not to answer for both the subscriber and spouse here. And we are going to continue. Now we're presented with the dental plan selection. So we will go ahead and pick a dental plan and then continue. Here we have the subscriber has the opportunity to upload documents. So first and foremost, if they need to provide any dependent verification, we have some information about those dependents and what documents are allowable. We also, this would also be the place in which they could upload the other various forms that may be required to complete their enrollment. Specifically for a MAPD plan, I believe there's another form they would need to complete and fill out. So they'd want to do that and then upload it here. And just for fun, I'm going to show you what uploading a document looks like. So I've selected a file, which I know you guys couldn't see my file explorer open up, but I selected a file and now you can see that it's showing up down beneath that section. You can also see down here that it tells me that I did upload a file and it's a JPEG, and I can select what kind of document it is. Again, since my drop downs don't show everything when I'm presenting, you cannot see this, but there is a very, very, very thorough list in here of all of the various documents that our retirees or continuation coverage members could upload. So things like, of course, a tax return as a pretty common dependent verification document. We have um, Medicare Form B, C, or D, all of the various forms that folks could upload. So I'm just going to go ahead and select tax return, because that's what I'm uploading. And once I select my document type, I select upload, submit changes. It says my document has been successfully uploaded. So once I complete that, I can upload as many documents as I need to for the purposes of completing my enrollment. Then once I'm done with my document uploads, I go ahead and select continue. So now is all of the fun legalese that is on the forms as well. So giving them all of the acknowledgement of submitting, you need to provide payment, all of that fun stuff. Also here, and I do acknowledge that these buttons look like they're not selectable. It is due to the color scheme that we have in this training environment. I promise they will not look like that when Benefits 24/7 is out there to the world. They will actually look like you can select them. So this button says download retiree enrollment deferral form. So this gives the subscriber the opportunity to actually download their request. So it's just like filling out that paper form. If they fax it into you guys, this would be like having that actual copy of what they've done. And if you open that, it really does show everything that they walked through on that enrollment form. And we're going to reference back to this here in a moment as we go through the processing side of this request. So it shows all of our subscriber information, what they're planning on doing, how they're planning on paying, etc. So we will come back to this shortly. And then if they want to edit at any time, they can select previous, go back in, make changes on the pages. But once they're done and ready, all they have to do is hit submit. So I am going to go ahead and submit my request. Now my request shows up on my grid here, and it tells me the date that I submitted and that it's waiting for review at this point in time. Has not yet been reviewed. If I select the request type, select the checkbox here, you can see new buttons do appear. So because this request has not yet been processed by anybody, any of you guys, I have the ability to go in and edit it so I can make changes on that form. Or if I, change my mind, let's say I submitted my retiree request 3 months ahead of time and I changed my mind. I really just can't afford to retire yet, or just work is still calling to me. I want to stay working. I can come in here and delete that request as long as it hasn't already been processed. And then, of course, there is the opportunity to also download that form that we just looked at, this request form. They can download it right just from selecting this checkbox here, and they'll be able to do that at any time, even once it's been processed. So that's what it looks like to actually submit the retiree request. Do we have any questions before we go into processing? Am I overwhelming everybody? You guys are very, very, very quiet. Okay, so I am headed back to my dashboard here, and I am going to select my self-pay dashboard because we're actually going to go look at now what it looks like from the viewpoint of processing a retiree request. So I'm on my self-pay dashboard, and I am going to select continuation coverage retiree request. I'm going to select this tile here. When we come to this page, this is the work queue, the work item queue, however you guys refer to it, but this is basically the long list of requests that are out there. When you come to this page initially, first and foremost, you'll see items that have been assigned to you. So we understand that many a times there are work items already assigned to you guys to start your day or to start your week. And when you come in here, first and foremost, you'll see those items that are just have been assigned to you, or if you've assigned them to yourself, you'll see them here. So you can see I do have one retiree request in my name. However, if you want to look at items that are pending but not assigned to you, so the bigger queue, you unselect this checkbox of show items assigned to me. And now you can see any items that are in a pending status. So here you can see, here's that retiree request I just submitted. And if we want to actually look at that request, we want to hit this plus sign here to expand that request. So here's where we're going to have some information about that subscriber. We see their name, social, date of birth. We see their eligibility. So this person is in a terminated status with a loss of eligibility of 3-1, and the loss of eligibility reason was retirement. We see their previous employer and what their benefit setup was. In this section, we see coverage end dates. So we'll see subscriber and any dependents that were enrolled on that account. We'll see those end dates for coverages. So here we see medical and dental were ended 3/31 for both subscriber and dependent. We see that related document, which is that dependent verification tax return that we uploaded. When you see these this picture icon, it is like to call it a mountain with a sun. Anytime you see one of these, this means it's a selectable item. So if I click on this picture here, I actually see that tax return that I uploaded. So it's an opportunity to look at that document that's uploaded or attached to a request. As we move down further into this request, now we start to see the opportunity to review the request, move it into the appropriate status, and then start actually being able to work through the processing. So since we just got this retiree request, they're requesting coverage of 4-1. We know that because we just went through the process together. If we didn't know that, we could open up this form request review, this picture down here. This is actually that request that we just did, and the same one as the document we were referencing a moment ago. This is the retiree request that they submitted. So we want to make sure that we open this and keep it open. This is what you'll be using to help create the retirees eligibility and then ultimately enroll them into the requested coverages. So we'll want to give this a glance over. If we need more information, you would follow the process to contact the retiree and request additional information. But I just wanted to scroll through here and show you what this form looks like. And then we will use it as we process the request. So try not to go too fast and hurt anybody's eyes. Okay. So we know that they requested coverage April 1st and their retirement date is also April 1st. So I'm going to come back to my request, and based on what I saw, we have all of the required information. So I'm going to go ahead and select that it was approved pending payment. You'll see the request status automatically changes to approved pending first payment. The process date is automatically populated to today, which makes sense because I'm actually working through this process today. But we do have the ability to change this date if needed. And then the processing status is also automatically updated to penned for first payment. Now, I do want to acknowledge that this processing status is also the list where we'll change things to penned for the various months. So we have penned for 01 through penned for 12, pending for additional information, and then of course complete when a request has been completed. So this one automatically populated into penned for first payment since we haven't yet received payment. Once we have done all that we need to do as far as verifying that the request is ready to actually work through, we've looked at everything. We know that this is going to be approved. Now we come here and we select submit changes. So we say, if we see self-pay updated successfully, now we see a new message down below that is populated as soon as we select submit changes. And it says to enroll or make changes to enrollments, this account must be updated to an active self-pay eligibility type. Please use the Add Self-Pay Subscriber functionality to update the self-pay eligibility information. Once entered, you can return to the request and process the enrollment changes. And here I will show you this process enrollment changes button is not engaged. So we cannot select this no matter how many times we try and click this button. It is not going to be available until we add that self-pay eligibility. So as I read this message to you, I wanted to acknowledge that add self-pay subscriber here in the after please use the, this is actually a link. And if I select this link, if I click add self-pay user there, this is going to take me directly to the manage subscribers page. And that's the main manage subscribers page that we talked about, where we can see all PEB and SEB members, regardless if they're active employees or otherwise. And we have this button right here next to the search button that said add self-pay subscriber. This is what we're going to select now to add that eligibility for our subscriber. We select the Add Self-Pay Subscriber button, and now it's going to ask us to enter their social security number and their agency effective date. So we can refer back to our document that we have opened. So I'm going to grab my social security number from here and their agency effective date. We know that they wanted to enroll April 1st. So I'm going to go ahead and use April 1st. Once I've completed the social security number and agency effective date, I'm going to select next. And here it's telling me that we did in fact find this subscriber. It's going to show you their last name and first name and their social, and you just want to confirm that, that you do have the correct person. And then you can go ahead and select claim. So now this is going to ask you to update that self-pay eligibility information. So here we already have populated first and last, social, date of birth, birth, sex, and gender identity. Now we move into that eligibility information for giving them their retiree coverage. So home agency 107, what's retiree? Brittany, help me.
What are you trying to put in?
The retiree code, agency, home agency, sub agency 107, 124. Which one do I pick?
Either one is retiree.
You could do
Well,
124B.
124 is
Perfect.
guaranteed, yeah.
Selected the wrong one. 124B. Okay. I know you guys can't see the list, but it has all of the various eligibilities, 107s and 124s and all of the letters.
I'm so sorry we couldn't make it home for Christmas.
Oh, I am going to mute you, Ben. Sorry about that. All right. So we select the home agency, sub-agency that is applicable to their coverage. And then we're going to look at eligibility type. Eligibility type is going to only display based on what the home agency, sub-agency is. So in this case, we have retiree, not K-12. And so that was the only option in my drop down based on the home agency, sub-agency that I picked. Then we have eligibility reason. We have 01, 12, 04, and 05. 01 in this case, newly eligible. So this is very much like completing that 41 screen. And then we want to select their original agency, sub-agency. Did they give me that on the form? I can't remember if it gave me that on the form or not. Doesn't look like it did. I think we took down that note the other day, right, Jeff, to display the original agency on the PDF.
We didn't, but I'm about to.
Okay. I'm just going to pick one, and I know it's not going to be correct, but we select the appropriate original agency there. And then we have pay method. So based on what the subscriber submitted, they did in fact select pension deduction. So pension deduction it is here. And then COBRA qualify reason and self-pay end date. If this was a COBRA request, those would be required. Then of course we have our originating SSN. Agency effective start date, which we already put in when we were adding this individual. And then the retirement date, which is found on their request here for 123. Here we would move into adding that Medicare information. So this person did in fact tell me they had Medicare coverage. So Part A and Part B were effective 1/1/2015 in this case. So we'll go ahead and say enrolled and we'll add the start date there. Same for Part B. And then we can add in their Medicare number that they have provided. So we can just copy and paste that. And then if we need a Form C signature date, we can add that here. Address information, double check that it's the same from their form. Update it as applicable. And then we can select same mailing address. We know that this person did not include an additional address. So I'm going to select this checkbox. And all of my boxes here are green, which means I don't have anything that I've missed that was required. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And I get a little message at the bottom that goes away way too fast that says that subscriber was successfully added. So I have now added that subscriber's self-pay eligibility. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to select my self-pay dashboard again in the top navigation bar. I'm going to go back to my continuation coverage retiree request queue. Going to unselect items assigned to me. And I'm also going to unselect only pending requests because my request was actually approved already. I just need to now process it. So here, we understand this queue is going to be much bigger as we start to get in the request, and it will become quite large. So I want to acknowledge that each of these columns, this is a filter button, and you can select in any one of these to try and filter to what you're looking for. So for example, not that this is one that would be used very frequently, but has documents. If I select that filter option and I say is true and select filter, it's going to show me only requests that have a document attached to them. I can select that filter button again and hit clear. It will go back to showing me everything in that queue. If I want to search for my subscriber, I can put in the field for contains. If I type PCS and hit filter, brings me to that request that we're going to go ahead and now process. So just an easy way to find who you are looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this record again. Same information we already saw. We have that approved section that we already completed. And now, as we get to the bottom of this, we see you can now make the allowable changes to this account. So because we've completed that eligibility portion of their account, now we can process the changes. So I'm going to go ahead and select process here. We're going to put in the coverage effective date, refer back to our document here. 4/1/23 is the coverage effective date. Once we enter that date, we can go ahead and select next. This is a wacky bug that we have acknowledged and will not be happening when I have to get back into my request and apologize about that. Okay. So once we hit process and we put in that coverage effective date, the first screen it's going to bring us to is the medical enrollment. Here we're going to see any plans that are allowable for the subscriber to enroll in. So we want to refer back to their form and see what their requested plan was. In this case, it was United Healthcare PEB Balance. So I'm going to go ahead and select United Healthcare PEB Balance. We also have checkboxes down below if the person is deferring their medical coverage or deferring to Medicaid, you would select one of those options. Or if they were enrolling in retiree term life, you would also select this checkbox here. I'm going to go ahead and select next. Back up. Then we move into our dental coverage. And it's going to automatically show us what plan the subscriber enrolled in. So we know this subscriber selected Uniform Dental, but I'm going to go ahead and refer back to my form just to be certain. And in fact, they did select Uniform Dental. And the reason that we did not auto-populate the medical plan is because things like a split account where they could have the two different enrollments, one in UHC and the other in UMP Classic, or Primera Part G and UMP Classic, things of that nature. So we do actually have to go in and select the medical plans, but the dental is automatically populated. We just want to double check it's correct. And of course, if they're not continuing or removing dental coverage, we could use this checkbox down here. We're going to select next. So here we have some information to review about the coverages that we are enrolling the subscriber in and what that coverage effective date is. We see the plan, the medical and dental plan that they're enrolled in. And it says not yet enrolled for the spouse, and that's because we need to go in and manage that dependent. So I'm going to select confirm here. So this is asking me if there are additional dependents that were not added on this form that we need to add to their account. I really can't come up with a scenario in my head off the top of what this would be, but we're going to go ahead and say no because we already have a dependent on our account that we're going to enroll in coverage. So I'm going to select no and say next. So here it's saying, hey, this person's still not enrolled. And so in order to then add that dependent to coverage, we want to select edit dependent. And we want to go through the dependent information because we know because we just did the request all together. And we then, as HCA staff, reviewed the request. So we know that this dependent not only has Medicare, but they also are going to be enrolled in medical and dental coverage. So we want to come into that dependent and we need to add that Medicare information. So yes, they are enrolled in Medicare A and B, and that was effective 1/1/2014. So I'm going to go ahead and add that information here. We would put in that Medicare number. It didn't ask me to input that. Okay, we would put in that Medicare number. And if we have a Form C signature date, we would include that date there. And now it's going to move me into adding coverage to the dependent. Sorry, making a quick note for myself. Okay. So now it's going to say, what benefits do we enroll this dependent in? Based on our form, we know medical and dental. So we're going to select medical and dental here. Now it's going to say, let's make tobacco attestations. We know this does not apply based on the form. It does not apply due to Medicare. So we'll go ahead and select no. Continue to the spousal questions. Again, we can just go ahead and say no here. It does not apply. And then acknowledgement that that spousal surcharge will not apply and proceed to the dependent review. Now we see that spouse is showing medical and dental enrolled. No surcharges apply. We're going to save and finish. We get taken back to the dependent question. We do not have anybody else to add at this time, so we're going to select next. We have that review again for our spouse or any dependents that are already on the account. We now see that they are enrolled and it tells us that they need to provide proof. Go ahead and select let's upload documents. Since this is us as HCA processing, it's probably unlikely that you're going to need to upload documents here, but we do have that ability in case you need to. So most likely you'll just go ahead and select proceed to attestations. Now it's going to provide information about that surcharge. And I guess what I will say is it might seem, kind of interesting or silly that some of this information is presented. However, this wizard, as we like to call it, that walks through that enrollment process is used all throughout benefits 24/7, not just for you guys processing these requests, but also for us as active employees when we're making enrollment changes. this wizard structure is used all throughout the system. So some of the things like the document upload and stuff, while we may not need to do that in processing a retiree request, it is there because that wizard structure is used throughout benefits 24/7. So tobacco surcharge applying to the subscriber. Let me scroll back up. We see tobacco attestation. Nope, it does not apply due to Medicare. So we're going to select no, hit next, acknowledge the legal notice, and confirm and review. Okay. Why is it showing the surcharge? Let me make another note. Okay, so now here we see our subscriber and our spouse and when their coverage is effective. So this is basically a review of their enrollments here. You can see that medical and dental plan and go ahead and select next. Just a review that additional coverages are not eligible for them. Go ahead and select next, review the legal notice and hit confirm. And now that retiree coverage has been processed and completed. That was a lot. Any questions about that? Questions? I'm just going to make sure you guys can still hear me, right? Not
We
talking
just
to
love
you.
it, Amanda.
Yeah, we can
Perfect.
still hear you. They're just like so blown away and fascinated by you.
Simply can't believe it.
Yep.
What are your guys's? I mean, we just walked through one of the main functions that you guys will be doing. Any so I know you no questions, but any thoughts, any feelings?
This looks really user friendly.
So user friendly. I am
Yeah,
so
it'll be
happy about
nice.
this.
Very
Yeah.
streamlined. Yeah, it's good.
Yes.
Oh, can we get this in writing, you guys?
I love it. Oh, I love to hear it. Okay, so let's now, I want to go back to my self-pay dashboard here, and I want to make some reference on how we look at the assigning of requests. So I'm going to come back into my retiree continuation coverage retiree request queue. And I'm going to unselect items to me so we can look at this process. So this is the queue if anything was in pending. And you see that these checkboxes exist over here on the left-hand side. If I wanted to assign myself a request, like you've finished your work already and you're going to go look for another one, or you need to go back into somebody's request and you want to make sure that it's assigned to you so that nobody else jumps in and works on that item, you can come in and select the checkbox next to the subscriber name, and you see this new button, Assign to Me, pops up. What you need to do is select Assign to Me, Save Changes. Now you can see that Sir Michael Bolton has been assigned to myself. If you want to, you've gone through, you've looked at the request, and you've maybe said, you know what, this person, I need some more information. I contacted them. Maybe we come in here and update the processing status to pen for additional information and we submit. We've done our due diligence on reaching out to that person. We can select the checkbox again and say unassign, save changes, and that way it's back into the queue and we'll be ready the next time that we get information from that person. So should be pretty straightforward on how to assign or unassign things to you, to yourself. Any questions on assigning of documents? Hopefully it looks a little cooler than imaging, or maybe it looks less cool. I don't know, but I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, next I was going to look at a COBRA request. We're going to make it pretty quick on actually walking through creating the COBRA request, because I want to just look at processing. It's going to look very familiar. The actual request itself is very similar to the retiree request, and then the processing is also extremely similar, but I do want to make sure that we look at both of those. So I'm going to search, and I go back to my main dashboard here. I'm going to go to my managed subscribers, and I am going to look up the person who I know was terminated, and go to that subscriber's account here. And again, since I'm doing this from the perspective of the subscriber, I am here on COBRA's account, and I'm going to select the retiree continuation coverage tile. And in my request drop down here, I'm going to select COBRA enrollment termination request and create my request. So I am not going to opt out because I want to show you guys this form. So again, information about continuation coverage for this member, tells them submit your payment, all that fun stuff. So I'm going to proceed to the payment information. What are my future payment options? I can select electronic debit or monthly invoice, and then proceed to enrollment. All right, again, we have information already populated here because they were enrolled in active employee coverage. We can update our address if we need to, add an additional mailing address. I'm not going to do that at this point in time. And then here we have our coverages where we can either select to continue or not continue the coverage. So I'm going to go ahead and select to continue my medical, but I'm not going to continue my dental or vision. We also have the section to terminate coverage and what coverages we'd like to term, since this is an enrollment and termination form. And we could enter that termination date and reason if applicable. Here we have some questions to respond to, covered by another group medical, dental, or vision, or do you receive Social Security disability? If any of those are selected as yes, then it would require an effective date to be entered. Of course, we have a Medicare section. This person is not enrolled in Medicare. They just were let go from their position and they are still of working age. So we're going to go ahead and select no. If we said yes, of course, we would want to put in that Medicare number as well. And then we do need to respond to the tobacco surcharge because we don't have Medicare. So I today am not a tobacco user, so I'm going to proceed to the dependents. Again, just like the retiree form that we walked through, there is a current dependent on my account. So I do see them displayed here. And since this is a COBRA request, we do not have the ability to add somebody new since this is continuing the coverage we already have. So I can expand my child here if I want to add them to coverage. If I don't want to add them to coverage, I can just continue and not even add them. But I'm going to go ahead and add my child to coverage. They also need to have medical coverage here. So Medicare information, they're not enrolled in medical or Medicare, sorry. And then the opportunity to add them to coverage. So I'm going to just say medical coverage, just like the subscriber. So medical coverage, I'm going to select to continue. Dental, I'm not going to continue. And vision, I'm also not going to continue. I'm not covered by any other plan and I don't have Social Security disability. And then this dependent is also not a tobacco user, so I'm going to select no and save changes. So once I have completed going through my dependent enrollments, if I want to enroll them to coverage, once I'm done with that, I'd want to do that to all of the different dependents that are on my account if I want to enroll them. Once I'm done, select continue. Now I have the medical plans that are available. So I can just go ahead and select, we're going to continue our enrollment and we'll go for UMP high deductible here. And I'm going to select continue. I'm not going to enroll in dental plan, so I'm just going to select continue. And same with vision here, not continuing that coverage. Here is where I would upload any required documents again, that same document upload page that we've already seen a couple of times. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit continue for the sake of saving some time. Now we get to that final review page. Here's where we could download our COBRA form before we go ahead and submit. So I'm going to go ahead and download that and show you guys what it looks like. Very similar. I'm going to close these other ones. So very similar to that retiree request form, similar layout. So we'll go ahead and keep that open and I'm going to go ahead and submit. So same thing, once the subscriber has submitted their COBRA form, they can edit or delete it and they can still download that PDF. So the subscriber side of that is done. We go back to our self-pay dashboard, and then this is where HCA staff end of the work comes in. We go back to our request queue here and unselect items for me. And now we see COBRA subscribers, COBRA enrollment form in our queue as pending. So essentially, we go through that same process. We would want to approve or deny. Let's just say this person also, we saw that their payment was already approved. So we're going to go ahead and just straight up approve this request. And we don't need to make any changes to the process date or status. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit submit. I'm going to download my form here, which is the same as what I already have open, but just to be safe. And again, we have to go and add that eligibility before we can process. So I'm going to select add self-pay subscriber here. Go through this process. I am going to go a little bit faster since you guys have already seen this. So I'm not going to stop to explain every field. That's right. Okay. I'm going to select next. I get my previous subscriber record found. This is who I am managing. So I'm going to go ahead and select claim. And update any information as applicable. And then we're going to go into eligibility information. So this one I seem to know off the top of my head. Eligibility type, COBRA medical, based on the form that we received. Eligibility reason, they are newly eligible for this COBRA coverage. Original agency. Randy, is it D45? Olympia? I think so.
Olympia School District?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Pay method, they put on their form personal check. So we'll go ahead and select personal check for pay method. Select the COBRA qualify reason, and I will read these out since we haven't talked about these ones yet. Dependent loss coverage, employee is deceased, employee terminated from agency, and then we have ex-spouse. So this was employee coverage. So they were terminated from their agency. They have 18 months of coverage. So Don't judge me for my dates. I am going to pretend here and put in my 18 months, and then I don't know that this is right, but that's what I'm going to put in, the election period end date. And then we have the originating SSN. So if this, of course, was a dependent enrolling on their own account, we would put in the applicable originating SSN. And then Medicare information as applicable. We know that this person did not have Medicare, so we can move past that section. If they made an update to their address, we can go ahead and do that here and submit. Once we have added that self-pay eligibility information, head back to our dashboard, into our request queue. I'm going to come back in and find our request. I'm going to use my filter here and search. There is my subscriber. Expand that request. And now we can go in to process the changes. Our coverage effective date is populated 3/1/23. I'm going to go ahead and select next. Really bothering me. Okay. Go back into our request. And then we can select our medical plan based on the form that we received. The coverage, oh, here it is. I don't have it zoomed in again. Medical plan selected was UMP high deductible. If that is an allowable plan for them, we go ahead and select it. Or if they are not continuing or removing the subscriber medical coverage, we can go ahead and select this checkbox down here. Once we've completed the medical plan, we select next. We go into dental. We know that this person is not electing any other coverage based on their request form. So do not continue the dental coverage. I'm going to select that checkbox. And same again here for vision. Select next. And then I have some confirmation messages here about the coverages that we have selected. And I'm going to select next. All right. Any other dependents to add? I'm going to go ahead and say no again. And based on the form that was received, I'm going to look here at my dependent, and we are in fact going to enroll them into medical coverage. So I need to go in and select edit this dependent, and we need to make sure that we get that coverage added to them. So we review their dependent information here if there's any changes that we need to make. There is no Medicare for them, so we can go ahead and select let's add coverage. What benefits are you enrolling them in? They're only going to enroll in medical, so we go ahead and just select the medical checkbox and then move into our tobacco attestation. Their attestation was no, so I'll go ahead and select no and proceed to dependent review. Now it shows me that our child, our dependent, is enrolled in medical. There is no tobacco surcharge. They don't have Medicare. They're not enrolled in any other coverage. So here I just hit save and finish. All right, again, just say nope, no other dependents here. So I'm going to select next. We review that dependent information again and move into the next section, which is the documents. In this case, we don't need to upload any documents on behalf of the subscriber, so we're just going to proceed to the attestations. Here's the information about that surcharge. And then we want to input the subscriber's tobacco attestation, which was on here somewhere. I know they said no, but where did it go? Maybe that's what I was thinking of that we took down the other day because it wasn't showing on here.
Yeah, there was one. One of the requests is missing spousal, and one was missing tobacco.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That will be there. So no, this person is not a tobacco user. So we'll select no and next. Proceed through the legal notice and confirm and move to the review screen. This page, this is a bug, so we're going to ignore that this is here and I'm going to continue. All right, so now we have that summary of coverage elections displayed. We show that the subscriber and dependent is enrolled in medical effective 3/1, and we see that medical plan, UMP high deductible, no dental, no vision. We go ahead and select next. And then we have to scroll through this final legal notice. And once we do that, we can then hit confirm. And now that COBRA enrollment has been completed. So I know it's the same process really as the retirees, but just wanted to walk through since it is a little bit different coverage. And then of course, this was a SEB member, so they had the vision coverage as well. Any questions about that COBRA process? Unpaid leave is going to be much the same. We know there's very little difference between those two, but any questions about that COBRA process? All right, so one of the other things that we do on a regular basis when we are processing requests or we get phone calls from a subscriber and they say, you know, maybe we get a call from an active employee who's requesting a retiree packet or whatever course of action that we've talked to somebody on the phone. I know all of you make really wonderful notes on the 58 screens in Pay One. And so we do have that ability to make those notes in Benefits 24/7 as well. So I'm actually going to go back to my self-pay dashboard here. And I want to acknowledge this manage subscribers section because when we're in the self-pay dashboard and we go to manage subscribers, we're only going to be able to get results for any subscriber who has that self-pay eligibility information added. So I'm going to go ahead and look up that subscriber that we just completed the enrollment for. I'm going to select the checkbox next to the name and I'm going to manage this subscriber. Now I am essentially into that COBRA subscribers record. So here in our tabs, we already talked about that eligibility tab. If we needed to, if we got a phone call from COBRA here and they said, oh my goodness, I got a notification from somebody and let's just say my social security number needs to be updated. You've got the social security card, whatever the process is that we would do to verify something of that nature. If we needed to make an update to any demographic information for this subscriber, we would come into their eligibility tab here and we could make that update on this screen. Let's say we received a phone call and they requested gender identity to be updated to X. We could make that change and then we just come down here to the bottom and we submit. Now that change has been saved. Then typically the next thing we would do once we have spoken to somebody, made a change on an account, whatever it is that we've done on that record, we would want to document that. So now we have this tab over here for notes. So this is essentially replicating that same feature that we have on the 58 screen where we can come in here and record what we have done on the account. So we would select add a note. We have a free form box that populates. You have 250 characters. So you can type in, I know you guys have well-defined notes of things that you would say to folks, but for purposes of today, that's what I'm going to write. Once you write out your note as applicable to the account, go ahead and hit submit. And then you'll see it populated here. You can see when it was created, who created it. You don't have to try and decipher initials and numbers anymore. And then you can see the note that they've made. I will say we had a conversation with Alexi yesterday about the notes because we do recognize that there may need to be some processes worked through as far as getting notes in both systems, but I'm going to leave that conversation for her team to work through and then be able to provide out to you guys, because we do recognize that there are other people in addition to our groups that will be that do utilize those notes in Pay One. So that information will be coming at a later time. Any questions about the notes or updating demographics for a subscriber, anything of that nature? All right, I have 2 more things to go over, and then we will have gotten through everything that we got through with the group yesterday. So the next thing I want to look at, I'm going to stick on Cobra's account here. If we need to update some kind of information on a dependent, very similar to updating a demographics for a subscriber, we can see here that we have this manage dependents tile, or we have the manage dependents tab up here. We can select either one of these to get to the same place. And we got information. Again, we did our due diligence. Maybe there's something that needs to be updated. Let's just say the subscriber called us and said, oh, their birthday was actually 5/2. We can come in here, update that demographic information. If it was Medicare information that we needed to update on behalf of somebody, this is the opportunity in which you can update those demographic information for a dependent. So we would just update it and submit our changes. So pretty straightforward there. And the last thing I wanted to touch base on that for today is what about, and of course I'm going to show you this, and we definitely have a bug that is being resolved, but I want to make sure we acknowledge this page. What if for some reason we got a phone call from one of our members, maybe somebody who's not super comfortable using benefits 24/7 yet, and they said, I am no longer a smoker, I need to change my tobacco attestation, or they're needing, maybe they call in, just need help walking through what to do in that case. So on a subscriber dashboard, they have the tobacco attestation page here. You want to select the tobacco attestation page. And when this is not funny looking, this will be fixed, I promise. This section allows you to actually make a change to the tobacco. So it is currently in a no, we know that, but we could change it to a yes if need be and update that date. We also have the dependent down here as well. So if the change needed to be made for the dependent, we could do that and save. I know this page, it's hard to show you guys a page that I know isn't functioning correctly, but I did want to acknowledge how to make a change to the tobacco attestations, because it is a separate place after they've completed enrollments. Any questions there? All right. Well, we have gotten to the end of where I finished with the other crew. So for sake of making sure we stay equal and go through the same things with each group next week, I would like to go ahead and wrap up. Of course, I am more than willing to stay and answer any questions or talk to anybody about benefits 24/7 if you would like. If there is nothing, then I would just like to say thank you for joining us. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy It's at least not raining. It's a little sunny out there. Have a wonderful Friday afternoon and a great weekend. Thank you so much and have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.